Filner has had throughout his congressional career and now his mayoral career, all the scandal, the payola, all the different things that have taken place. I wonder, because they're liberals, and you're wandering around the room, so I have to look wherever this is awkward. I wonder if because they're liberals, if they would just be happy. I mean, our prisons are overcrowded. They don't really like people going to prison. They don't really even like people resigning, do they? I wonder if because they're liberal, if they would just like him to get some sensitivity training. That's the question I had this morning, right?
Yeah.
Make him more sensitive.
And it was liberals calling on a liberal to resign, so that's
that
awesome.
was unbelievable.
No, it was liberals calling on a communist to resign.
I don't think they care that he's a communist. Most liberals are so far left at this point, we can't even call them liberals. We have to call them progressives because it's more accurate. They're not really liberals. Progs.
Yeah, and when you call them communists, that just freaks everybody out. What? You can't call him a communist?
Yeah, we need a new name for him. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I think statist is working out.
Statist I
that's
like
the
a lot.
word.
Yeah, you're right. Statist is good because it's very descriptive. It's not quite as disruptive as the word communist. And statist is, by the way, an excellent description for Bob Filner. It really is. And so I just think that, I'm upset that I didn't get my question answered. And I would love to ask some of these folks, hey, you're the sensitive types, right? You're the forgiving types. We're the rage over here. We're the conservatives that go judging everybody. Isn't sensitivity training enough for Mr. Filner? I would think it should be. This is the other thing I don't get about the status, really quick, because I know we want to get to our conversation more than we want to get to me rambling. But this is the other thing I don't get, the other major inconsistency I noticed this morning. So I'm at this press conference, and it's all statists standing up there who once upon a time have supported Mayor Filner. And they're saying, he needs to go because he's done this to women. What the heck difference does that make? Because aren't we all the same? Do women need some special treatment? Because aren't women, they want us to play on the basketball team. They want us to play on the front lines of the military. They want us to play on the men's football league. I don't understand why, on the one hand, they can have women, especially because he did this to women. It's so sad. But on the other hand, women are all just the same. I don't get that. That's another big inconsistency with the status they're going to need to answer to me for at some point, maybe. Anyway, today on the show, as I said, investigative reporter Kim Dvorak, who will not get off the backs of those who want to drop topics like the mysterious death of an investigative reporter on the NSA topic in L.A. just a couple weeks back. Bradlee Dean setting it straight on what teachers are behaving badly. Also, Chelsea Schilling talking about that, too. She's the one who did the story on, and you guys love this story, on the Texas woman, last name is Norris, who wanted the women in Texas to stop having sex with their husbands until they agreed to be pro-abortion. Logical. Chelsea Schilling on the show today. Anne-Marie, Morgan, Brittany, we take on Wonkette and HuffPo right here on the Dr. Gina Show. You're going to want to stay tuned for that.
Hi, this is Joe Dan Gorman of Intellectual Frog Legs. Ain't no liberals say I have every phobia out there. They say I'm a homophobe, an Islamophobe, even a Michelle Obamophobe. Well, actually, I am kind of scared of her. But, with all these fruitcake phobias, I'm bound to be on my last leg. So you probably ought to hurry on over to intellectualfroglegs.com. See what Chuck Woolery's calling the best new media he's seen. That's intellectualfroglegs.com.
God, guns, and gear, the things you need to be a proper conservative these days. Go to the Dr. Gina site at docgtv.com. That's docgtv.com for all of your Patriot gear, including concealed carry handbags, the best T-shirts you'll find anywhere, and even jewelry for that special woman in your life who enjoys her freedoms as well. docgtv.com, docgtv.com. Go there for your Patriot gear.
Right now in Washington, D.C. and many states around the country, there are radical leftists who would like to disarm Americans. That's why Gun Owners of America was founded over 35 years ago. Gun Owners of America is here for only two reasons: to lobby to protect the Second Amendment and to replace anti-gun politicians with pro-gun Americans who actually understand what the Constitution says. Gun Owners of America has been called the only no-compromise gun lobby in Washington, D.C. Join today at gunowners.org.
Do you support Obama's universal background check? This is Dr. Gina. I want you to go to gunowners.org right now and answer that important survey question. Gun Owners is the only no-compromise gun lobby in Washington, according to Ron Paul, and many others are finding the value of joining an organization like Gun Owners of America, who's been there and will be there with a no-compromise attitude. Gunowners.org. That's gunowners.org.
You're a troublemaker, troublemaker. You ain't nothing but a troublemaker, girl.
This is Andrew Breitbart of Breitbart.com and Big Government. Troublemaker, just like my longtime friend, Dr. Gina, Tea Party patriot. You're listening to the Dr. Gina Show.
Oh, troublemaker, yeah, that's your middle name. Oh, I know you're no good, but you're stuck in my brain. Troublemaker.
Well, yes, I am a troublemaker. I wear that title proud, along with my ability to define what hot is to me. I'm still just irritated that the left thinks they can decide what a hot man is. We wrote out our criteria, and they were our criteria, and I guess I'm going to have to save that until I have Anne-Marie and Morgan Brittany on with me, because I'm a little fired up. Producer Jason? Actually, I'm kind of delighted.
I noticed. I just had to take my headphones off. You were so fired up.
So loud?
Yeah, exactly. So if I...
You don't have these cool headphones, though.
You have the Beats on today.
The Beats. And they look really dorky, but they sound really good. Really good. All right, my next guest is somebody that, this woman is a pit bull of investigative reporters, and I'm actually just honored to know her. And I got to know her in one of the most horrendous, horrible situations ever, which we will not talk about. But I am so glad that I know her now, and I count it a blessing, because she is one of these folks, and when I say pit bull, you know I say that affectionately because I love pit bulls. But she's the kind of person, gentle, until she knows you're wrong, and then she hops on and will not let go as she sinks her teeth right into the information, and she's not going to let up on the issues that the lamestream media would just love to see go away. Welcome back to the Dr. Gina Show, Kim Dvorak.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely an honor. Now, you wrote this recent piece on this mysterious death of the California, the LA reporter. He was doing a story on the NSA scandal, and this story has been buried. But for you, Kim Dvorak, would you update us, please, and let us know, what are we supposed to believe here?
Well, if you want to go by what the LAPD says, they would like to have the general public believe that there was no foul play involved. In fact, they made that decision shortly after the car accident. Within hours, they came out and said this was just a single car accident. And, of course, being an investigative journalist and seeing that the owner or the driver of the vehicle was a prominent journalist, let's just throw it out there that he was a Democrat as well, and he really kind of, got his career started once he broke news about General Stanley McChrystal. So, I'm looking at the story from a couple of different perspectives. Do I go after this? He was definitely someone who was part of the mainstream media, or, what do I do? So,
Well, first tell us, lay out for people in case people have forgotten or haven't been able to follow this story, Kim. What are the mysterious circumstances surrounding his death?
Yeah, well, it was a single car accident. It happened about 4:25 in the morning up in Los Angeles. He was driving a 2013 Mercedes-Benz, and the Mercedes-Benz was reportedly traveling at high rates of speed, and then just all of a sudden, with no skid marks anywhere to be seen, car just crashes, makes a 60-degree turn right into a palm tree. Now, early reports said that he was traveling down a narrow road, there was a curve coming up, there were a lot of different circumstances, that, he was traveling at over 100 miles an hour. And once I went up to Los Angeles to actually go on scene myself and, look at this, the actual crime scene, we're talking about a road that was a 4-lane byway there. There's a median about, I guess maybe 4 feet wide with the palm trees in the middle dividing the road. No turn, very, very straight. And there was no reason for his car that I can think of just to turn immediately and blow up. Now, once I saw the scene, I decided that I would call Mercedes and find out what, their take was on this. And surely people who own Mercedes would be a little concerned that, their brand new cars are prone to blowing up. Well, Mercedes tells me that no, their cars don't blow up. In fact, they take great, pride in this fact that when a sensor goes or an airbag goes, they seal off all of the combustible and flammable products that are in the car, like transmission fluid and gas and such, so they don't blow up. So the question then goes back to what happened that would make this vehicle actually explode. Mm-hmm. Now that's the million-dollar question at this point. We don't have access. LAPD refuses to release the police report. So at this point, we don't even know whose car he was driving because he was out here. He lives in the New York, Vermont area back east. He doesn't live out here. He was working on a story out here.
Where's his family on all this, Kim?
Back east. His family is back east. I've reached out to the family, and they are very, very quiet. I haven't heard back from them, and it's kind of surprising. I'm the only reporter, really, that's written anything since the initial accident, and I've received so much positive reinforcement of going after this, and please keep going after this, as well as threats. I've received threats from folks saying, we're watching you, you better steer clear of this, let it go, type of thing. And, when you get into high-profile stories, you're always going to get it from both sides, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, too well. So let me ask you this, too. So I don't understand how the investigation can be concluded that there was no foul play, but they won't release anything. If it's concluded that there was no foul play, then why won't the LAPD release anything? That makes isn't that pretty unusual?
Yeah. See, and that to me, I mean, when I went up to actually just go get a copy of it, with my credentials in hand and my attorney, and we walked up there, they refused to even, to let us view it in a room. And in California, you could walk in, your producer could walk in and say, hey, I want to look at this accident report that happened on this day, and we have California Public Records Act, which says, yes, the public is allowed to have this information. And that would be the easiest way to say, okay, look, yeah, maybe it was. Maybe he was drinking. Maybe he was doing something he wasn't supposed to. And maybe we're just dead wrong on this. But the fact that they haven't come out and done that, and the fact that I went to the fire department, I went all over the show asking all kinds of different people questions. And some people flat out told me, we've been told not to comment on this story. Wow. So as a journalist, that stands out in my mind. Red flags start flying everywhere. Who's telling you? Well, we can't tell you that.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that at the very least, we still don't know exactly what happened, and I think the public demands, dictate, at least at this point, that we need to continue to look into it, and the LAPD needs to come clean with releasing some of the pertinent investigation that they won't release to anybody else. I'm assuming the family has gone after some of these stories, one way or the other, but I don't know. I haven't heard from them, and they've been just very, very quiet about the whole circumstances. The wife came out and did say that, that she said this was not an accident, and she would find out whoever did this to her husband. But once she made that comment, we haven't heard anything else. So I'm left to kind of just, put the pieces together and follow this until I get to the end, and I'm not going to let it go until I find out what really happened.
Well, another story that has gotten way too quiet in the lamestream media, frankly, that you've been right on top of, Kimberly, is, of course, Benghazi. You've investigated this clear down to really what I would call its grassroots, if there's such a word, in investigative journalism. Tell us where that story is, why the lamestream media is covering it up, and what the families are saying about it.
Yeah, well, on the Benghazi story, 14 stories I've written about this, and it's very, very clear that the mainstream media is taking their lead from the Obama White House on this. In my mind, what has happened is we have a CIA who were, admittedly purchasing weapons with the help of the State Department in Libya after the fall of Gaddafi, and they were taking those weapons and they wanted to get them to the Syrian rebels. And this, in my mind, is nothing more than a proxy war against Russia, again, like we did in Afghanistan, to actually oust a democratically elected president in Syria. So, the president said, we're not going to get involved with this, and above the radar, he's like, no, I don't want to be involved. But behind the scenes, his team was working to get weapons, and, quite deadly weapons, to, members of the rebels. And, again, a lot of these people fighting Assad's folks, they're al-Qaeda. So why would we buy weapons from al-Qaeda in Libya, ship them, in essence, FedEx them over through Turkey, but into Syria, and then give them back to them? I mean, we've got to be the biggest chumps. That's a pretty big, embarrassing, scandal for the CIA, the State Department, the White House, everybody involved. And I guess the president really doesn't need any more scandals on his plate, and the mainstream media is being very, very quiet about this.
But he at least doesn't want this one. He at least doesn't want this one. Are the families still fighting to make noise about this, and are they just being hushed, or have they just sort of decided to be left alone with their grief and maybe nothing's going to come of it? What do you think?
The four that were murdered, it just seems that it's kind of being quietly passed over. And as with, most people, they, when you keep calling and they keep not returning your phone calls, eventually you start to give up. Again, these family members, they don't know much about, how government works. They certainly didn't know, why the members of, SEALs who were, trained SEALs were working for the CIA. And, you've got so many different complexities with this, and the government obviously always goes out and says national security, and that trumps everything, and we're not going to release any information. I would hope that at least a couple of the, family members will continue to follow this, but unless we hear anything from, the Republicans on this anymore, I just think it's going to go away, unfortunately, because we've got so many other scandals.
Well, don't let it. Don't let it, Kim. You stay on top of it, and I will, too. There's our Girl Pact right there. Thanks so much, Kim Dvorak, for being on the show.
Thank
Bradlee
you.
Dean, right after this. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for History was made on today's date. Stay tuned for an American Minute with Bill Federer.
He intentionally fired into the air, but his political rival, Aaron Burr, took deadly aim and fatally shot him in a duel this day, July 11, 1804. Born in the West Indies, he fought in the Revolution and served as aide-de-camp to General Washington. He helped write the Constitution and convinced the states to ratify it by writing the Federalist Papers. His name was Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the Treasury. He wrote, "Let an association be formed, the Christian Constitutional Society. Its object, first, the support of the Christian religion. Second, the support of the United States."
This has been an American Minute with Bill Federer. For a free transcript, call American Minute at 1-888-USA-WORD.
It is with sound mind and body that I, James Fredericks III, after fighting with all direct family members for decades, leave my entire fortune of $32 million to the one friend I had in the end, the package delivery guy, Matt Songer.
Woohoo! Yeah! I had a feeling about this. I'm rich! Oh, this cannot be happening.
Actually, it's not happening.
What?
And it never will.
I don't get it.
There aren't even people here. That's just one of those murmuring sound effects.
Seriously?
Listen, if you want to have money in your future, don't rely on luck. Put $10 away each month. Cook once in a while instead of eating out.
Okay.
Pay down your high-interest credit cards.
Right.
Small changes today, big...
Speak endlessly, and most people just don't really do it for me because I've kind of heard it all before, But Bradlee Dean is one who I am still sitting on the edge of my seat at the end of his 2.5 or 3 hour presentation, and I want more. And I'm just sitting there going, "Wow, I can't believe God made you in one human being." That is honestly my thought every time I see Bradlee Dean.
Wow, he can hear all this.
Oh, geez, that's embarrassing. Yeah, he should have definitely been on our Superman list, and I want to say I did nominate him. But anyway, Bradlee Dean, thank you so much for everything you do. I just want to say right off the bat, if people haven't heard you, and I just don't say this that often, not into drooling all over the guests. I give them a nice, quiet intro, but you are one who people need to know your work. You are conservative ammunition.
Well, I appreciate that, Gina. I mean, I really don't know what to say outside of the fact that, I do what I do, and I do it because I, first of all, love God with my whole heart, mind, soul, and strength.
And you don't hide from that, and you're one of the only conservatives out there that prefaces everything you do with that, and that you still get into public school somehow. This is not computing for most of us.
Well, you know what? I still have the right to uphold the laws of our republic, regardless if the liberal whacks, the left as you call them. I'm not asking for their permission to obey the laws of our Constitution. So therefore, that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I recently wrote a story where I included some of your work, and this is amazing. And I want to play this really quickly. And what I want the audience to listen for, because you can't see it, you can watch it, of course, at WorldNet Daily. But I want the audience to listen for the whack this woman gives you in the middle of this. I guess you could call it an interview. I think I just.
On YouTube because I am absolutely for our Constitution, and I know what's in our Constitution, and you don't.
Yeah, I have one if you want to read it.
No, sweetheart, I teach it.
Awesome. So what does it say about freedom of religion?
So what it says is we have separation of church and state.
Can you show me where in the Constitution it says that?
Never. If you take a picture of me, I swear on my life I'm going to call the police. Actually, I'm going to call the police right now.
Okay.
Because I will not be taking pictures of. There you go.
I'm not taking pictures.
Yeah, it's not a free country. There's no right of free speech, but there is a right, I guess, for her to assault your camera crew. And there is the somewhere in the Constitution, which you and I haven't found yet, there is a separation of church and state. This woman is teaching our children, Bradlee. What in the world is going on here?
Well, the sad part about all this, Gina, is 86% of those that send their kids into public schools are conservatives, patriots, and or Christians.
Yeah.
And if you read Article 10 of the Bill of Rights, you can see that the federal government has no business teaching your kids anything in any public school in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. William Bennett rightly said that the longer that a kid stays in public school, in essence, he said, the stupider they get. And if you listen to the fruit of his quote, Gina, you'll find that he's exactly right, because 700,000 students per year in this country that get their diploma when they graduate can't even read their own high school diploma.
Pathetic, really pathetic. Tell folks the crux of what you do. First, I want to give you a chance to plug your new show on WorldNet Daily. Tell us about that.
Okay, on WorldNet Daily? Basically, I'm a commentator on WorldNet Daily. I'm all over. We got about 40 outlets we're on right now, just as far as our commentation. But WND pretty much leads it up, and then Western Journalism, Freedom Outpost, and the such. Liberty Alliance, you're a part of that as well. So we're just kind of out there, and then we do a radio broadcast, which is called sonsoflibertyradio.com, which reaches out into 53 countries and several affiliates in the United States of America. Outside of that, I'm a drummer for a band called JunkieProfit.com, international second best unsigned band nationwide in the United States here. And I'm a husband to one, daddy to 5. I drive the bus if I have to, and we do a lot of stuff. That's who I am.
And I need you to slow down because you're getting ahead of me on the kids, and I have to say I don't like it when people go ahead of me on that. Well, you can surpass me in all other arenas, but I like to have more kids than everyone. So if you just slow down on that. You have an amazing wife. You have amazing, beautiful children. You have a great staff and a full team, and this is really a family thing for you. You travel all over the country just to give people a little glimpse behind the scenes. I fly on airplanes and meet you where I see you, where we're speaking together. I've been on an airplane. You've been on a bus with your whole staff and their families and your family and your wife. This is a ministry for you.
Oh, it is. There's no question about it. You've heard before, Gina, that, well, God, it's God first, and then my family, and then my work. Well, it's like, well, can you show me that in Scripture? It's nowhere. It's God, my family, and my ministry are all one and the same. And I think it's a travesty when we have ministers or those that are leaders in our country, where they're actually separating from their families. I mean, everything we do, you don't get one without the other. And when we do the high school assemblies, we've done 342 of them in 22 different states. My wife and my kids are at every single one of them. So, yeah, you don't get one without the other.
You've had some really interesting experiences in some of the high schools you've visited. I've watched as you get pushed out by the administration while the kids are chanting for you to come back in. It's quite astonishing to watch all of this. What is your take on this? Are you still getting into schools, and what is the impact you're having? Are you getting through to these kids in these public schools?
Well, two things here. We did a high school in Arkansas, Lincoln, Arkansas. And when we were doing the high school, I was talking about the Constitution of the United States, and all of a sudden here comes this little waddly guy who was the superintendent for the high school. Mm-hmm. He walks down in front of 700 students, and he says to me, "Bradlee, can I speak to you privately?" And I said, "Sure." So he looked at the 700 students, and he said, "We'll be right back." We walked outside of the door. He looked at me, and he said, "Now, I understand that basically, in essence, you were singing Christian lyrics to your music." And it was a Christian principal that didn't like the fact that we were Christians doing a high school assembly, which in fact 70% of those that do high school assemblies are Christians, of course. And I said, if you shut down this assembly, Gina, I told the principal this and the superintendent this, it's going to backfire. And what had happened is all of a sudden I heard, "Let him speak." Mm-hmm. Let him speak in unison. 700 students standing up and pounding on the floor saying, "Let him speak," because they are so sick and tired of being lied to. And by the way, these kids know that they're being lied to, and they discern like nobody's business. The assembly was stopped. I don't think there was one student in that assembly that did not walk outside, apologize for their principal, say it's these teachers that are teaching us the Article 1 of the Bill of Rights, that we have free speech. And they told me, in essence, that basically our principal and our superintendent are the one trying to stop it when someone actually exercises their rights. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we moved into the town, we set up, and we were going to do an event that night, and a homosexual mayor actually caught wind that we were going to be there that night. He calls the cops. The cops surround the building. That's how out of hand these people were. They surrounded the building. Well, you have
a long record of violence at these rallies, right? These assemblies.
Well, they attempt to until they figure out that we're not going to just tuck tail and capitulate. Because once they begin to do that, we realize again that the law is there. And the first thing I'll do, Gina, is I'll reference our law. And America needs to realize that we've never lost the right. We still have the same rights to do the same thing that we've always been able to do. We just have to exercise them. So back to Arkansas. They escorted us all the way from Lincoln, Arkansas, all the way to the highway, a cop escort 45 minutes away because we were a Christian ministry. Mm. And that was one situation, probably out of 4 of them that we've done. I actually did another school in Missouri, Kabul, Missouri, and I was doing that assembly program, and I was showing the little picture of Samuel Armis, the little baby that had spinal bifida, and I was showing that picture to the students advocating life, and the principal didn't like it. There was about 600 students there. He comes out and he said, if this offends anybody, he said, you can go ahead and leave. One teacher and one student got up and walked out, and people need to listen to this. One student and one teacher got up and walked out.
Out of how many?
The rest of the, out of 600 students. And now the media would have got a hold of that, and they would have completely turned it like Bradlee Dean, pro this or anti-abortion that or hate or bigot or whatever the case is. The fact of the matter is the majority of the people are with the conservative message. People just don't realize it, and especially in the public schools, we just have to get in there and fight for these kids. And I'll tell you what, who's going to win today are those that are willing to fight for them, because, again, they're not stupid people at all. But if I can finish the story really quick, what I did, Gina, is I said, okay, fair enough. The teacher got up and the student walked off. And it was as if the Lord just put his hand on the students and said, just hang on a minute. Now, keep in mind, again, I was advocating life. And what happened is about 2 minutes later, because the principal didn't like the fact that the students didn't follow his lead, he comes into the assembly. He says, assembly canceled, emergency at the school. He lied to them. Yeah. Now, what you'll never hear, but your listeners are going to hear right now, 598 students, along with the teacher faculty, stood up and they gave me a standing ovation. They funneled down a line. They shook my hand, told me to keep doing what I'm doing, and they apologized for their principal.
Well, actually, I did hear it because I saw it on your site because you documented most all of this on tape, and even the parts that are inaudible, it's very clear to go along with the wording. It's very clear that this actually did all take place exactly as you said it, and they haven't rebutted anything you claim, have they?
They can't. Can I give you one more story real quick? Just recently in Florida,
we're close to break, so I know you can encapsulate because you do this all the time. So go ahead.
We were in Florida. Went into the school, did an after-school program with Spanish River in Boca Raton, Florida. Got there, and a feminine teacher came up and said, Bradlee Dean will not be speaking at our school today. He lost his First Amendment rights at the gate. That's where they're at. We had this all on tape. We got it on tape. I said, okay, let him hang himself because he's already done it, you guys. We called up Liberty Counsel friend Richard Mast. He said, Bradlee, you'll be going back into that school, doing that assembly. 3 weeks later, I flew back into Florida. I went into the teacher's classroom, did the assembly with a packed classroom, and that teacher that put the kibosh on it at the get-go was the first one to come up to me and say, Bradlee, I'm so glad that you brought your message into our school.
Wow.
So we have the law on our side. There's no reason that we have to be running from anything, friends. We just need to stand up and win the day. And if I can say this, God is willing to give the church what it's willing to fight for. He always has.
Those are great words. I think we need to continue to claim victory, and I appreciate so much all you're doing. Tell everybody where they can find you, Bradlee.
SonsOfLibertyRadio.com, SonsOfLibertyRadio.com. If you'd like to see our documentary of all the stuff that I'm talking about right now, you can run International.com. You can run International.com. Just got done doing a comic book from Danny Vulinati, a Marvel comic, and it's second to none. If you'd like to check that out again, you can run International.com. We love you, Gina, and we appreciate you as well.
Oh, love you guys back, Bradlee. Love to your whole family, and especially your hot wife. I'll just call her what she is. And and I want to say that your comic books are a big hit at my house, for sure. So
Awesome.
Thank you so much. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you take care. Now, in a moment, we are going to get to my conversation that I had with Neil Cavuto yesterday. And the information that I have about this very, very unholy alliance, I will be writing a lot about. So you're going to want to stay tuned for this next segment of the Dr. Gina Show.
Ranger Station.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting in the forest. 1 second, I'm having a smoke. Next thing I know, I'm face-to-face with Smokey Bear. Wow. And he told me it only takes one spark to start a wildfire.
Did you know 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans?
I had no idea.
That's why Smokey's famous and you're not. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
God, guns, and gear. The things you need to be a proper conservative these days. Go to the Dr. Gina site at docgtv.com. That's docgtv.com for all of your Patriot gear, including concealed carry handbags, the best T-shirts you'll find anywhere, and even jewelry for that special woman in your life who enjoys her freedoms as well. docgtv.com. docgtv.com. Go there for your Patriot gear.
Would you rather be a gun owner or a victim? Hi, I'm Tim Macy from Gun Owners of America. Our Constitution affirms our right to self-defense, including the right to own firearms. Right now in Washington, D.C. and many states around the country, there are radical leftists who'd like to disarm Americans. That's why Gun Owners of America was formed over 35 years ago. We're here for only two reasons: to lobby to protect the Second Amendment and to replace anti-gun politicians with pro-gun Americans who actually understand what the Constitution says. I urge you to join us in this fight. We've been called the only no-compromise pro-gun lobby in Washington, D.C. Please go to gunowners.org and join today. It may help you from becoming a victim tomorrow. That's gunowners.org.
Hey, it's Dr. Gina here, and I told you that I'm going to help you be the most effective in your activism that I possibly can, and I've got a tip for you right now. Go to gunowners.org and join to be a member. Sign up for their alerts, and you can know exactly what you need to do to take action to save your freedoms. Go there right now and become a member. Gunowners.org. That's gunowners.org. Tell them Dr. Gina sent you. Gunowners.org.
Hey, I heard you were a wild one. Ooh. Hey, I heard you were a wild one. Show me how you do. I wish I could tell you look close.
producer Jason has decided that since Bradlee Dean has a First Amendment right to say what he wants to say, that producer Jason should have a right to both sing and dance. And let me just say one more thing, lip sync all the commercials. It's so embarrassing, Jason. Do I need to give you more work? Is that what's wrong? You don't have enough to do?
Hi, I'm Tim Macy with Gun Owners of America.
Oh, you're freaky. And you know, I said this to him today, I go, it's amazing. You are so good at creepy. And what did you say back to me?
So maybe I'm just really bad at normal.
Someday I'm going to make you put my glasses on and show everyone creepy. Because you haven't really seen creepy until you've seen Jason level creepy. It's uber creepy. Yes, I have wires everywhere today, so I keep kind of tripping on them. This tax story is unbelievable, and recently the new acting commissioner of the IRS, Danny Werfel, told employees that he's going to eliminate the bonuses. I guess this is supposed to make amends to all the Tea Party groups for everything that went.
That makes us feel so much better.
Do you feel better now? He shouldn't really be punished. No one in the IRS should be. They're just not going to get their bonuses this year. Of, by the way, almost $90 million.
Good Lord.
So, it's so good of him. But he did point out that the elimination of bonuses weren't a reflection of the quality of the work done by the IRS agency. He wanted to point that out as well. Now, of course, you know about all of the scandal going on, and you know that first it was that they were targeting people, but then the stories came out about the lavish spending at the conventions, the shady contract situation, censorship of targeted groups. Remember, you could get your status, but you can't ever, for example, hold a poster in front of an abortion clinic. Remember that one? Because I just want to remind people, then an actual enemies list surfaced, and the exposure of thousands of taxpayers' personal Social Security numbers, another story at W&D. And so now many, and I have to give credit here, Ron Paul, he's the first person I ever heard say we need to abolish the IRS. But now this is an echo chamber of folks. And it's coming from all walks of life. There are Jewish groups, there are gay groups, there are conservative groups asking for the IRS to go away. And interestingly, too, there was a poll, and actually I'm going to write about this, and you guys will be able to see that there was a poll that said about a solid majority of Americans want the IRS to go away, but there is a reasonable amount of support, even among Democrats. About 1/3 of Democrats, producer Jason, want the IRS to go away. Independents tie with Republicans. 2/3 of independents and 2/3 of Republicans support the idea of the IRS being abolished. And I would say that the other 1/3 don't understand what that means. Like maybe they think there's going to be no revenue. There could be no roads and bridges if the IRS. I mean, that's probably the mindset of the brilliance going on there. I'm kind of frankly surprised that 2/3 of participants in a poll understood it well enough to say yes, they want it to go away. I bet those numbers are unbelievable for those who are informed and have an opinion. I bet it's well within the 90th percentile. But anyway, this television survey was done end of June, so that's where it is. So. Ironically, Neil Cavuto called, and actually Neil didn't call. His producer called. His Jason called and said, "Do you want to come on the show?" His Choopy, and said, "Do you want to come on?" His Super Choop, as I called you in a tweet today. Did you catch that? Super Choop.
Oh, that's cool. That's
yeah,
nice.
Since you didn't make the Superman list, I was trying to give you something. Super Choop. You're the only Super Choop, though. You know, the guys on the Superman list, they had to share it with like 10 other people. So I need you to go to that clip from my appearance yesterday on Neil Cavuto Show.
Gina, good to have you. You're not for just sort of dithering here. You're for walloping.
No dithering.
Explain why.
Music to my ears, Neil. You know, the IRS has become a weapon of mass destruction against the taxpayers. It is so corrupt. We know that. It's unconstitutional. It was actually voted unconstitutional once upon a time. There are so many problems with this. And not only that, it's so old school. There are such much more efficient ways we can tax the people in the United States that are much more fair and I think would settle well with most of the American people. It's definitely time to make these reforms.
All right, but, you know, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. And that the argument is to just abolishing the IRS, while a lot of people share that view, It is at best impractical, and you need an organization that polices whether people are paying their taxes. You pay your taxes, I pay my taxes, but there are a lot of people who try to pull some fast ones, and you need an agency, whether it's IRS or something else, that monitors that.
But it doesn't need to be the largest organization in the largest federal bureaucracy there is. It doesn't need to be an organization that has targeted minority groups. It doesn't need to be an organization that votes itself fat cat bonuses. If this were a private business, Neil, you and I both know it would be long gone because the government would have regulated it out of business. It is completely corrupt, it is unconstitutional, and it needs to go away. And there are great answers out there. You know, the progressives are always saying they love the word fair, right? So let's do something fair. Let's do something that does tax everybody straight across the board, like a consumption tax. It can't be avoided by black market work, like,
then you
for
don't
example,
need a big agency. I see your point. You don't need a big agency to police that.
You don't.
But back to this whole harassment of conservative groups, of which I think you might have been one. But do you know whether your case or others, whether they were contacted by this group that's supposedly investigating what happened at the behest of the president?
I know so many different people that have been attacked by the IRS in one form or another.
Yeah, but no one has been. What we're hearing, Gina, is that no one has been contacted. These groups that were targeted have not been contacted by this White House investigator that is looking into what happened, and that worries me.
That's right, and I'm still hearing continued stories of abuse that are new stories of abuse. So basically nothing is being done here, and this organization needs to go away. Having an organization like this is sort of tantamount to driving a covered wagon to a hospital. We need to come to the age this century of automobiles and get this done in a much more efficient, transparent, technologically savvy way. It's time for the IRS to be abolished. Straight up, get them gone.
All right, but as you know, they're going to play a central role in health care. And unless something changes and fast, the rollout for that actually begins next year. And it's sort of set in stone. And you're saying unset it.
You know, I'm always looking for opportunities for politicians to be heroes. I saw a W&D poll this week that said 2/3 of Americans are demanding that the IRS go away. This is a chance for politicians. I saw you on a Superman list this week. This is a chance for politicians to ingratiate themselves to the American population they're supposed to serve and say, hey, we are going to do what makes sense here instead of continuing on because this is the way things have always been done. The American people have spoken, Neil, and it's time to make some changes.
Gina, always great having you on. Thank you very, very much.
Always good to be with you. Thank you.
So there you have it. Dr. Nathan Paterno, a clinical psychologist who is all over my Facebook page and also happens to be my co-author in my book, made a great statement on this. I asked for statements on my Facebook page. I love to get those from folks. He said, common sense dictates that one should submit to powers that are benevolent and competent because the IRS is neither. It has lost all its authority. I thought that was a great quote. So we will see what happens. I had Bob Unruh, my editor from W&D, on the show. Was it last week? That's posted somewhere for you guys if you want to go to drgtv.com. And he said it's absolutely possible. Not only can it happen, it should happen, and that there has never been momentum like this. And I would say, you know, looking at those poll numbers from W&D Wenzel, 1/3 of Democrats, 2/3 of independents, 2/3 of Republicans. It's a good time to be thinking about ending the IRS as we know it.
No time like the present.
No time like the present. I really think, I feel a momentum change in the energy and the spirit and the sort of revitalization of the conservative movement out there, and I think it's very exciting. And speaking of, well, we're annoying the liberals. And, you know, that's always the fun part, is when you actually know you've gotten under their skin. And we did! Politic Chicks hot list got under the skin of HuffPo and Wonkette, and they had to get rude and lewd and vulgar. And we've got our own built-in bleep button here. We're going to have Politic Chicks Anne-Marie and Morgan Brittany join me. It'll be the three of us together, just like old times. And also, we're going to talk about all of this craziness in these articles they wrote, all upset because they didn't think our men were hot enough. What's up with that? Stay tuned for that. And also for Chelsea Schilling from the WND. More in a moment. You're listening to The Dr. Gina Show.